Welcome to the Good Enough Gaming PC V2 video. Over a month ago on my video blog, I promised an update to our original Good Enough Gaming PC episode on NCIX Tech Tips. So I know it's taken a little while. I was on vacation. I'm back now. I have finally done it. I have built the Good Enough Gaming machine. So the first thing I want to run through with you guys is what was the objective? The objective here was to build a good enough gaming machine so that you can run the latest titles at 1080p with high details for $500 for the hardware alone. So my overall cart size was $700, well, just under. But I had $80 worth of mail-in rebates that I could redeem, and Windows 7, if you already have a copy or if you have a copy of Windows Vista, is an optional purchase. So $500 hardware is what we're looking at here in front of us. We ended up with an Intel Core i3-2100 processor. Yeah, it doesn't overclock, it has no turbo mode, but it's got 2 hyper-threaded cores, and it is good enough for gaming. We've got 4 gigs of RAM, an MSI GeForce GTX 460, 768 meg. We've got a great power supply, so you've got really good upgradability with this machine, and I think you guys are going to be really impressed with how it performs compared to a bigger brother machine that we built. So this one runs about $1,000, so it's about double. I'm going to show you how the Good Enough Gaming machine holds up and where its big brother, featuring a Core i5, GTX 570, much stronger hardware, really starts to flex its muscle. So here's what the guts look like for our Good Enough Gaming machine. I'm going to tell you guys all the compromises that we had to make in order to hit our budget. So compromise number 1 was that we didn't get a full-size ATX motherboard. That's going to limit our expansion in the future. We're not going to have the ability to go for an SLI or a Crossfire configuration. But let's face it, if your budget's $500, you're probably not a Crossfire or SLI customer anyway, so it should be just fine. Number 2 is, personally, I believe any very respectable modern system should be equipped with an SSD. We were not able to fit an SSD into our budget. We've gone with a WD Caviar Blue 500 gig drive for both boot drive and storage, whereas with our more extravagant configuration, we went with a 60 gig SSD for the boot and a 1 terabyte green drive for storage. Last but not least, 8 gigs of RAM is so cheap these days that unless you're really budget constrained, you should probably just spring for it. We had to go with 4 gigs of RAM. 4 gigs is enough for games, but on my personal machine, as well as on my work machine, I do run into limitations with 4 gigs from time to time when I'm running video editing software, for example. So this is a gaming-centric build, purely gaming-centric, and it's not that well optimized for other tasks, as you will see from our benchmarks. So, in summary, the beefier machine has SLI and Crossfire capability. It has a faster quad-core processor versus a slower dual-core. It has 8 gigs of RAM versus 4 gigs of RAM. It has a 60 gig SSD and 1 terabyte of storage versus 500 gigs of storage and OS drive. They both have DVD burners. Blu-ray wasn't quite in the budget for either of them. And last but not least, the case. So the case makes a pretty big difference in terms of the overall appearance of your machine. Obviously, it makes all the difference in the world for appearance of your machine. So I've gone with the half 932. Actually, you should check out the teaser video for NCIX Good Enough Gaming PC Round 2 on my blog if you want to see the full specs as well as the prices for all the components in here. Whereas with our Good Enough Gaming PC, we've gone with the Antec 300. Either of these cases is going to keep your components cool, but the half 932 has neat features like more front USB, more expansion options, water cooling compatibility, all kinds of neato stuff that is great to have, but you don't need it. All right, so it wouldn't be adequate to just tell you guys that it's good enough for gaming. I'm going to have to show you some gaming footage. So this is running at 1080p with 4 times anti-aliasing. All right, so this is running on my GTX 460 768 with my dual core that many of the people who left comments on the preview video said wasn't going to be enough for gaming, which it is. I mean, for now, it's not super future-proof or anything like that. But you can see my frame rate is never dipping below 40 FPS. So this is a very, very playable experience in Battlefield Bad Company 2. And I don't want to talk for too long here because I do want to show you guys another title or two. So now we got some Crysis 2 footage going here. Oh, I wasn't paying attention and now I'm getting shot. Somehow I knocked that guy up onto the sandbags. So you can see in Crysis 2, even at the highest preset, running at 1080p, we are not going to drop below the 30 FPS range, which is very, very respectable given that our system here didn't cost much more than $500. I think it came to $515 or something like that. Here I am running around. You know what? I'll go find that thing to blow up, actually. Give me a sec. So you can see the worst case scenario. And my energy's low. Here we go. There you go, 25 FPS. That's the absolute lowest it goes when I'm standing next to explosions watching them go off. Very nice. First thing I'm going to show you guys is the Crysis 2 performance. So our Good Enough Gaming PC achieves playable performance, but obviously not as good as our higher-end $1,000 machine. In Battlefield Bad Company 2, remember, this is all at 1080p, and in Battlefield Bad Company 2, we are running 4x anti-aliasing with all the details at high. We do achieve, again, very playable frame rates with the Good Enough Gaming PC, and once again, much more playable frame rates with the $1,000 PC. But remember, too, the $1,000 PC has not been geared strictly for gaming. The $1,000 PC is a more well-rounded build. We've added an SSD. We've put in a quad-core CPU, which frankly doesn't benefit most modern games that much. We've put in more RAM, which is great for things like video encoding. We've put a better case on it. We've given it more upgradability with a better motherboard. It has USB 3, SATA 3, 6 gigabit per second. So there's a lot more to it. This is more like the fully loaded model, whereas this is the bare bones Toyota Yaris, for example. Okay, so in the video encoding benchmark, the quad-core machine, the $1,000 machine, just blows away our Good Enough Gaming PC. But this last one is most striking. So I'm going to explain a little bit what this benchmark was. This is not a straight Windows boot up test because I don't feel that actually matters. It doesn't, who cares how quickly you can turn on your PC? Usually it's on, you put it in standby, big deal. Okay, what I did was I put Microsoft Office Word, I put Windows Live Movie Maker, and then I also put Internet Explorer 9 into the startup folder within the Start menu. So what that means is that the system booted up and then launched 3 applications simultaneously. So what this measures for me is the multitasking performance of the system. Well, our $1,000 PC booted up and opened up all 3 applications. This is from a cold standstill in 45 seconds. Our Good Enough Gaming PC took over 3 minutes. So that is really why I would recommend building a more well-rounded PC versus a Good Enough Gaming PC. But I hope I've also shown you guys today that for $5 you can build yourself a Good Enough Gaming PC at NCIX. Thanks for watching.